Thank you so much, Olga, for that. Thank you. The number of women leaving teaching when they start families is making it harder to fix a recruitment crisis in England's schools. That's according to an independent think tank. The government wants another 6,500 teachers, and it says it has given them a 5.5% pay rise, and it is making clear that lessons can be prepared at home to improve flexible working. Here's our education editor, Branwen Jeffries.
I can't take.
At home with her boys, her baby daughter asleep, Cara left teaching after Rafi was born. She taught music, science and was head of sixth form. The workload and lack of flexible hours became too much.
For me, it got to the point where I just didn't feel like I was a good mum or a good teacher. And that was really hard. To me, it just didn't seem possible.
Of course, teachers do get the school holidays, something many other parents envy. But in return, in term time, there's very little flexibility. And when you look at things like maternity pay, some of the differences are really stark.
Across the public and private sector, 18 to 26 weeks on full pay is common. But for teachers, maternity pay is a fraction of that. Schools told us changing that would be challenging. The budget they have now wouldn't cover it.
Many women are the breadwinner in their families, and so only having it's 4 weeks full pay, 2 weeks at 90% and 12 weeks at 50%, compared to so many other comparable graduate careers that they could go into if they wanted. It's really, really woeful, and it needs to change.
This way.
For Laura, still a teacher, less maternity pay meant less time with her children. With Miles, she took 7 months, only because she inherited a bit of money. But for Eden, she had to return before he was 4 months old.
It was all to do with finances for both of them. I would have loved to have had a year off with them. It just wasn't ever an option for us with the financial situation.
You're so silly.
She still feels guilty about missing out on key moments.
It's sometimes very difficult to navigate nativities, school plays, the sports days. My husband often goes instead of myself, and he will film it. You're consumed with guilt that you don't get to do it.
Some schools are trying flexible start and end time for teachers, using timetable software to make sure lessons are covered. Others are looking at a 9-day fortnight for teachers. For parents struggling with their own work-family balance, what matters is having a good teacher in front of their children. Branwen Jeffries, BBC News.
Joining me now is Emma Shepherd, who's co-author of the Missing Mothers Report and a former teacher. Thank you so much for joining us, Emma. What has the report found?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having us. It's really, really exciting to be with you. It's found essentially our Missing Mothers report that teaching and family life in some cases, many cases, is incompatible. And women aged 30 to 39 have consistently been the largest demographic to leave teaching every year since 2017. And since this report and its precursor report in 2018, we haven't actually had anybody looking at why that might be. And so this is a really exciting report to give voice to that community and to actually understand what it is that is stopping some women from feeling as if they can combine what is a brilliant career with their own personal aspirations for family life, and what it is that is enabling other women to make that work and have really, really fantastic and sustainable careers in teaching.
I mean, it's so difficult to go back to work after maternity leave in any profession. I've just come back from maternity leave myself. So what is it about teaching in particular?
It's very long hours during term time, and I know that we do get the holidays, but it can be a real famine and feast, or sort of almost like a military lifestyle where we're really working the shifts during term time. We don't necessarily see our children. We often are working in the evenings and at the weekend, and there's very little flexibility for the very practical requirements of being a parent. So a lot of the participants in the study talk about having to be at there professional school gate at the same time as they're supposed to be dropping their children off at school, or having to organise their own school concerts, but not necessarily having the time off to go and be the audience members for their own children's school concerts. And there are a number of really tricky things when it comes to the policy documents in education that do penalise women and mothers more than they penalise fathers. So we don't have any sort of uniformity around caring related absence, so dependence leave, for example. We have some very good practice around flexible working and some very bad practice around flexible working that means that women lose out financially. We also have stories of teachers who return from maternity leave, and their very first day back, without any sort of kit day, they're teaching 6 lessons in a row with classes they don't know or classes they haven't seen, whilst also managing weaning a baby and weaning off breastfeeding, or managing very little sleep and managing all the emotions of leaving their baby with another caregiver for the very first time, and having been out the classroom for an extended period of 4, 6, 12 months. So really being thrown back in. And as experienced teachers as well, a lot of these women are some of our most experienced teachers. They're often relied upon from the very word go when they come back to pick up all the difficult stuff, all the challenging stuff, the things that other people don't necessarily have the experience to manage. So they're really thrown back in there following their maternity leave.
Emma Shepherd, thank you so much for joining us. Around the world and across the UK, this is The World Today on BBC News.